Hi, guys. Welcome back to the Vroom podcast. I'm Fernando, your host, and this is our Into the Weekend episode for the week. Hope y'all are doing great. Hope y'all are having a great day. Um, this is a different kind of setting for me, and this is a different for those of y'all watching the vid. I'm currently in a cottage room of sorts, kind of like a little hotel room. For those of you that care, don't care, I'm an actor, and I recently got this opportunity to go work a week in Connecticut at the O'Neill Center on a new play. Um, and it's been a really, really wonderful experience. Obviously, that has made it pretty hard to get a video out as early as I wanted to this week. But you're going to get two videos today. Gonna get into the weekend, and following, you're gonna get and hit the apex for the races that happened last weekend, um, like Expel for IndyCar and Pocono for NASCAR, things like that. But right now, we're getting into the weekend. Uh, we got two races across two different series. We got the Formula One Austrian GP, and we have the NASCAR Cup Series Atlanta at Atlanta Motor Speedway. And yeah, let's get into it today. All right. So, like I said, we got F1, the Austrian GP at Red Bull Ring in Austria. This is Max's home turf. It's not looking great for him though, and we'll get into that. The race is going to be at Sunday, 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on F1 TV. That's going to be the easiest place to see it worldwide. Um, and yeah, a couple things to get into about that. We're gonna get into this being Lando's moment. Lando needs to put it together this race, and we're also gonna talk about um Mercedes, George Russell, possible Max Verstappen being a part of Mercedes. We're gonna get into that. For NASCAR, we got the Atlanta Motor Speedway again in Henry County, Georgia. It's gonna be Sunday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on TNT, wherever you watch TNT. Yeah, we got some playoff implications. This race do or die for Bowman, Bubba, others, and yeah, we got some established front runners, and we got some very desperate drivers on the field this race. So let's kick it with our major storylines coming in. First thing I want to talk about is the Lando v Oscar situation. Can Lando bounce back after Canada? We all remember that at Canada, Lando thought he had that inside line, and then he smacks right into the back of Oscar's tail, completely DNFing. And you know, we talked about it being a kind of just a moment for him. I don't think that it's going to necessarily get in the way of his racing, get in the way of his ability to win. And I think this was just kind of the failure moment he needed to build himself back up, restructure his head to be like, okay, I gotta get myself out of here and come into a race in which he's pretty comfortable at the circuit and dominate. And if you got to watch qualifying, which I just finished watching qualifying a couple minutes ago, Lando dominated. Not only did he get pole, which is great for him, he also was able to. Not only did he beat his pole time in Q3 one time, he beat it a second time. So that was pretty incredible for him, and so he's looking good. But can he get the win here? This is what matters if he's going to be a champion this year, if he's going to win the championship this year. Because if he falls again, he's going to become McLaren's number two, and Oscar is going to be number one at McLaren. And that's going to matter the more we get into the season, as we get into the later half of the season. Um, Now, my take at this, look, Lando's going to win. He has outpaced the entire field by a pretty large margin. So I think that he is going to really have that dominance tomorrow at the race. I think he's going to show that he's going to make very few mistakes. I think it's going to come down to his decision making on track. I think he gets in his head a little too much. But normally, if he qualifies well, he's going to race well. That's pretty standard for him. So yeah, I'm just going to go ahead and say that this is Lando's moment. Lando can do it. And I hope to see him win because I do believe he can do it. And then we have another interesting storyline kind of coming out of the Mercedes track. Mercedes is looking into Max, and they're looking into Max pretty deeply, I think, which is interesting because they have such a good driver in George and just such a good driver in Kimi, and I know bringing Max into the team would essentially mean that they would be a winning team off the bat if Mercedes can kind of get their car figured out for next season better, just because the car isn't great this season, but Red Bull is having just as terrible a car. I mean, Yuki can't drive that damn thing. And Max can barely drive it. Max is getting the most out of it that he can, but he can get the most out of any car. And so, I mean, I'm sure every team wants Max, especially if Max is looking for an out from Red Bull, which he holds his cards very close to his chest, but it's not something that is out of the blue. You know, he's obviously very not happy at Red Bull, and he had a lot of issues during qualifying. You know, he had a moment where he spoke on the radio and was like, I have no grip at all. No high speed, no low speed, no mid speed grip. And none of that showed in qualifying. Still qualified as well as he normally does, but it's just things are not looking great at Red Bull anymore. And I wouldn't be surprised if Max does see himself going to a different team. Now, whether it'll be Mercedes is an entirely different story, but it kind of puts George in a tough scenario, but also not really, because George is one of the best consistent drivers on the field. So he loses his team, someone else will snatch him. Because I can see any other team. You know, I don't know how much he would ask for. I don't know how much he, teams would necessarily be able to pay like any like mid range team like Haas or something. But I can see a team like Alpine, Aston Martin. Well, maybe not Aston Martin because Lance Stroll and Fernando Alonso are pretty secure there. But I can see teams like Alpine. I can see teams maybe Haas if they have the money for it. Audi for sure too. Even Cadillac if they're not, if their driver scenario isn't really in a strong point before the next season and something happens with George, I can see George being on any good great team performing really well. It just would really mean if Max is in and George is out, then who's George kicking out of their seat? And I think that's the real question. So that'll take some time to see, but to be honest, I think that Mercedes won't re-sign him if Max is uninterested, and we're not really sure if Max is interested in leaving Red Bull at all in a real way. So we're gonna have to hold on where that's gonna go. But as of right now, I see everything kind of being where it's at. I don't see anything really changing like that. But it is silly season, so we'll see. Um, yeah, and we're gonna now move on to uh our kind of weekend questions going in here. What am I looking to ask uh for this race that I'm looking for answers? That was the weirdest way to put a sentence ever. I'm so sorry. But yeah, let's get into some questions, y'all. Again, the biggest question for this weekend for me is, can Lando put it all together? I definitely think he can. But looking into NASCAR a little bit, if you look at the leaderboards and who qualified where, you got Logano first, you have Blaney third, and you have Cindric, I believe he's fourth. That's a full Penske row in the top five. And Penske is one of the best teams along with Hendricks, and they have one of the most consistent driver lineups in Cindric and in Blaney. I think Logano is consistent-ish. I think he's had some trouble this season in several races, but when Logano's good, he's good, and obviously he's on pole. So my question is, can anyone break through that? Because again, we have some teams that are at the cutoff, right? Well, we have some drivers that are at the cutoff. We have Bubba Wallace, Bowman, I believe Priest is there too. AJ Allmendinger as well. I mean, Chase Elliott has enough points that he's in kind of a safe lead, but still, I mean, it's kind of an uncomfortable position to be in if you're going into this race and you have no idea how to really break through because Penske has kind of dominated. Uh, but on the opposite of that, I don't know if all Penske crews execute perfectly on the strategies this season. Blaney's in a different league. Blaney's team is always top notch. They do miracles for him. And Cindric's also very consistent in his pit crew is very consistent. I don't know if I've seen Logano have such a consistent, strong, pit crew that will alternate on a strategy that can put him in contention for a win. I feel like most of the time I see Logano win is because he's just being mad aggressive and pushing to the front. So with that being said, I think Penske is going to lock out most drivers out of their contention for playoffs this race. I don't think that this is going to be a day where maybe Bubba Wallace gets redemption or Bowman I think is 10th if not ninth that he qualified. Bowman could have a good day, good points, could solidify a little better in the standing, but I don't think he's going to have as good of a showing as he did in Mexico City. And yeah, I think it's just going to be a Penske day. I think either three of those can take the win. They could all lock out pole too, so we're gonna see how that ends up. And now we got our bold predictions. I don't know how bold my predictions are this episode. I feel like they're pretty standard. However, I'm gonna say Lando wins. I'm pretty 9 out of 10 confidence in that. He's gonna win. He won pole. He's had incredible pace in every practice. And yeah, I think he's gonna reestablish his championship credentials here. I'm interested to see where Oscar finishes. I think he can get another podium, obviously, but I wonder if any other racer is going to find better pace in the race than he will. And then I have a pretty wild prediction also. I think Bortoleto is going to be top 5 this race. I think Bortoleto is going to make it top 5. He qualified, I believe, 8th. And he's just had incredible pace. I mean, making the Q3 his first time. I think that if he can kind of put down a solid run, good strat at if Kick Sauber can do a kind of interesting alternate strategy like they did with Nico, I think he can finish top 5, honestly. I think Lawson was looking good too. He might be a top 8, top 10, which wouldn't be insane, but he's just been really struggling this season. So I think he's going to find some success here today or tomorrow. And then for NASCAR, I'm gonna go out on a limb and say Blaney's gonna win and beat out in particular Logano. I think that he has the strategy with his team. I think that he's the freaking comeback king, and the team efficiency at play there at Penske especially is just top notch. And Blaney has just been outpacing everyone for the most part at every race. So I'm pretty confident. I'm 7 out of 10 on that Logano win. So we'll see how that goes. And yeah, that's pretty much the episode today, guys. It's kind of a short and sweet. There's only 2 races this weekend that I'm really looking out for. Uh, and yeah, thanks y'all for listening, for watching. I really appreciate anybody who puts this on and listens, especially to the end. You guys are really cool. I'm really enjoying doing this. This is becoming something that I'm getting more passionate about every week, and I don't know. I'm just really excited to see where this goes. I don't really know where this is gonna go, but as long as I can entertain people, make people happy, and talk about something I love, and engage with the community of people that I think are awesome, then that's what I want. So yeah, thank you guys for coming along on that ride. With that, a quick recap: F1 Austria 9 a.m., NASCAR Atlanta 7 p.m. Lando, he gonna win. Penske, they gonna win. Specifically, Blaney gonna kick everybody's butt. Follow me on Insta, on subscribe to my YouTube channel, and follow me on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Every link is in the description. So, yeah, guys, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next week on Into the Weekend. See y'all.